What's going on, everybody? It is Jamie and welcome to the channel Thrift on Fire. Today I'm going to give you my 5 biggest mistakes on eBay. I'm sharing them with you so you don't have to make the same mistakes. It's also December, so it's getting a little cold outside. So I figured I'd stay inside, keep warm, and give you guys a little bit of insight on some mistakes I've made in the past. All right, so number one, this is a big one and I've done it a bunch of times. When thrift stores, yard selling, I think we've all done this, to be honest. Overpaying for items. So sometimes you're just so excited about the item. I don't know how many times I've overpaid for video games, clothing, you name it. You just get really excited about it. Even shoes. I'll pay too much money for shoes, and then you look and you figure, I don't even know if I'm gonna make any money on this. So that's one thing. You gotta be careful not to overpay. And you know, how do you do that? You check comps for items, you see what's sold, you use your knowledge, whatever you need to do, just don't overpay for items. That's number one. Next, we're all gonna look out for the red flags and scams. What are some red flags? Well, if somebody has like maybe zero feedback and it's a new buyer and they're trying to work out a deal that doesn't seem quite right, that's definitely a red flag. I mean, there are gonna be new buyers on eBay that have zero feedback, but they're usually, people are pushing demanding with zero feedback. I would try to steer clear of those people. And usually if I have a weird conversation with somebody and I don't feel good about it, I'll just go ahead and block them on eBay. Another thing, if somebody's asking you for a phone number, or giving you a phone number, or asking you to do a deal outside of eBay, or pay in a weird way, like in Canada, maybe email money transfer instead of payment through eBay, those are all red flags and you want to avoid those for sure. Now, to give you a little context here, last year somebody tried to pull a scam on me. I mentioned this on my channel, you might remember. I bought a pallet of Amazon liquidation last year and I had a couple projectors and they were like $1,000 plus. And this guy said item didn't deliver, but the tracking I had showed that it delivered, and I think the guy was trying to scam me. It could just have been a mistake or a porch pirate or something. We went back and forth. eBay did have my back in that particular situation, but it would have been really easy, you know, if you didn't have tracking or proof that you shipped something, you know, for that person just to scam you. So if you shipped it without tracking or you did some sort of off eBay transaction with them, you have to be very careful with those things. You have to keep everything within eBay and do things the right way, because there are people out there trying to scam you. And like I said, on this particular one with the projector, I do believe the guy was trying to scam me. I couldn't really prove it, but eBay did have my back, but that's not always the case. So you want to be careful. One of the big things on eBay is shipping, and you can lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. So when you first start out, calculating shipping is probably a must. It's when you put in so you have say you sell a t-shirt, you put in the size of the bag and the weight, and that's sort of how it calculates based off where you are and the other person lives, calculates the price of the shipping or cost of the shipping. But you know, if you put in the information wrong, it's going to not tell you the right items. You know, you could put in maybe you have it set up for grams, but it's asking for pounds. There's a big difference between the two. You could be asking for inches and you put in centimeters, and that screws up, you know, the calculations. There's all different kinds of reasons why this may be. Or maybe you do something like I do. I use flat rate shipping, where I just, in most things in Canada that are pretty basic items, I charge $15. They're the odd time where something maybe is outside of that area. So in Canada, if something goes way up north, you know, you're going to be charged probably over $20, so I'm going to lose $5 right there. I'm okay with that personally, because the way I have shipping set up, I've talked about in the past, sometimes it costs me $13, sometimes it costs me $18, and I charge $15 for shipping. So I make a little money, lose a little bit of money, and it works out. But when you're starting out, you probably don't want to do that if you don't understand sizes of items and stuff like that. So shipping is a really easy way to lose money on eBay for sure. Poshmark and some other platforms like that are pretty simple, because you sell a t-shirt, they send you a label. It does matter what it weighs. It has to be under a certain weight, but generally t-shirts, they sort of use the same sort of thing, right? They just sort of have the deal with Canada Post, and it's expedited, packages cost X amount of money, and they just give you the label, and Canada Post accepts it. So that's sort of a deal they have with Canada Post. That's why things like Poshmark are really nice to start out on, because you don't have to worry about shipping. It's more about taking pictures of like good pictures of photos, descriptions, stuff like that. You don't have to worry about the shipping. So if you're just getting into clothing and things like selling things like that, and maybe small toys and stuff, Poshmark's awesome for that. eBay, you definitely have to learn shipping, or you could lose your hat. Now this one tends to surprise some people, but it is pretty obvious when you think about it. Bad titles and bad photos. So if you're thinking of yourself as the buyer and you can't really see what you're looking at, let's say they're Nike t-shirts, and it's supposed to be a gray Nike t-shirt, and you can't tell if it's gray or black or some type of brown because the lighting is weird. Now you could put too much lighting on something and it will change the color. I find with oranges, and pinks. It's really hard to get the right tones, and you really have to play around with even the contrast on your phone. Just if you're using your phone or if you're using a camera, whatever, you have to play around with stuff to make sure it looks like it does in the picture. But good lighting is going to help. Good titles, so you want to use descriptive words. So if it's like a Nike polo, it would be like Nike, the color, white. What is it? It's a polo shirt. It's size men's, extra large. Maybe it's a golf polo, so you might want to add golf. Maybe it's a tennis polo, you might want to add tennis. Maybe it's casual, maybe it has stripes, something. You want to put as much, you have 80 characters, you want to use as many as you possibly can to describe what you have. And like I said, with the photos, you want them to be clear and you want them to look nice. You want them to look like something you would want to buy. That's usually the way that I look at it. A lot of times when I'm taking pictures, I'm guilty of this for sure. If I'm trying to take pictures of like 20 things in one day, I'll throw things on the floor and it starts to get pretty sloppy, and I have to slow down and say, hey, listen, that looks bad, and I have to stop and redo it. If you look at my eBay store, there are still plenty of shirts that aren't perfectly laid out and flat, and is it the end of the world? No. But you do want to take as much time as you have to make the nicest pictures and use the best titles possible. The other thing you can do with titles is you can go to find a similar listing, sold and complete. You can sell similar, and then just sort of edit the title to fit your item. That usually is pretty good because somebody has already sold something using that title. And usually a lot of the item descriptions are filled in as well. So that kind of helps because you have to do that, right? So yeah, that's another way to do it. But that's, titles and pictures is a big deal on eBay. Now the last thing here is boxes and shipping material. Let me show you. This is one of the most standard ones I use. It's actually just I think it's a 12 by 6.5 by 4.5. I put shoes in there, all kinds of items. I keep these on hand. We have some eBay, just poly mailers. I use these mostly for video games and DVDs. Of course, we have our thank you cards. I consider this a shipping supply as well. And under here we have a few different types of poly mailer bags and some more padded envelopes. Now these are very important because when you're selling items, you need to know the size of the boxes you need. When you sell something, you don't really want to be running around trying to find a box, trying to find a way to ship something. You need to have these things on hand. That was a big lesson I learned trying to figure out, I sold a VCR, what am I gonna put it in? Well, I'll show you what I'm gonna put it in. Right here beside my desk, I have these boxes. They're 18 by I think 12.5 by 4.5. It's another must. So you need to know the type of materials you're gonna ship with. Same thing if you were to sell a mug, you're gonna want some bubble wrap, the right box. Down here I got some packing paper. You're gonna need all that stuff. If you don't have that stuff and you sell something and you're looking around for it, it's gonna be a disaster. Make sure you have the proper shipping attire. Whatever you need, you should have it right where you are. Now, a little bit of update from the last video on the Starbucks or Tim Hortons giveaway, whatever you choose. I'm gonna give it one more week so people can leave comments and enter the contest. At that point, I should be able to still get it out to you for Christmas time. And yeah, that'll be pretty sweet. If you guys like videos like this, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content. Until next time, take care, stay safe, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.